it really never has the value, does it?
Right, absolutely, absolutely.
So I think that the way that the ancient wisdom keepers worked was to give us the enigma or the puzzle, and that when you figured out the puzzle, that's when you got the blast of wisdom, the enlightenment. I personally see it like this. Boy, wasn't that a clever way to give us the very intense information that what they were really trying to say was prepare yourselves because you are the generation that experiences the shift out of the third dimension, time disappearing, moving to a place where time as you know it does not exist. Bang, the calendar ends. Get it?
Into no time, which basically I totally agree with the Sirians because I've thought about this for years. Everything's happening at once anyway, you know,
exactly.
So time runs forwards, backwards. You can run it any way you want. You can change the past or the future because there isn't any.
That's right. It reminds me of a beautiful moment in my favorite movies of all time, the Star Trek movies with Captain Kirk.
Oh, yeah, I love those.
Right. Okay, well, there's the last one where he's now an admiral, and this young captain is asking him, Kirk, you know, you're the only one who ever beat the computer at the game. How did you do it? Nobody's ever beat it in the history of the command fleet. And Kirk looks at him and goes, change the rules. I changed the rules of the game.
Absolutely right.
Now, I forgot why that fits in with what we're saying because I went to Planet Zargon for just a moment there, but somehow it does.
You are just great. I love you. I just fell in love with you in the movie, and I thought, my goodness, what an amazing being that is. I had an experience. I won't go into all the details, but part of my experience, it was a metaphysical experience, and in it, I experienced the shift. I went through it all myself on my property, and I was in some kind of altered state for about 4 or 5 days, and I was throwing all the plastic goods out by the back door and putting a big pile there, and there was some kind of council with something at the center of it. I couldn't see faces. It was all kind of like hooded, but at the center was, I don't know if you say it Ra or Ray. But that was Ra. That's what I call it. Yeah. And I was told without words that during the shift, nothing that's made out of synthetics will be passing through the ring pass knot. And there's another channeler, Bub Hill, who states that too in his channelings. I think he worked with June Vallo for a while, but my sense of it is that there will be a lot that won't be going with us. We got to have very little baggage, if any. Does that resonate with you?
Absolutely. You know, we really are plugged up with our material possessions. Not only our possessions, because when we talk about material, we inevitably go to that idea of what we surround ourselves with. But of course, also our clinging to our own identity as physical beings. And it's very hard to let go because a lot of people say, I criticize myself all the time, but I still love myself. I don't want to be without my body. And I think it's important to consider that what we're learning here is that it's the obsession with the clinging to the possessions. That is the problem. It's like addiction. I personally think if you drink a glass of wine a night, it's great for you. If you have to have a bottle of wine a night, it's addiction.
Right.
And so when we're addicted to anything, the soul is restricted. So
absolutely.
If we understand that the process we're going through now is preordained by our at the soul level, and more importantly, or maybe not more importantly, but excitingly, we have a collective of souls that have chosen to do this, to be part of this. So we're not only following our own soul path, but we seem to be a collective of ancient souls that have come in to take part in this humongous galactic adventure.
Well,
and there's no room for plastic bottles where we're going.
Well, it is an exciting time, and you know it's important for people to hear this because so many people are wrapped up and identified with the negative aspects and the conspiracy elements, which we began with, and we worked through that already. What I wanted to ask you was, in your journeys, do you notice that there is a commonality between all of the sacred sites that you visited? And do you have any that have moved you more spiritually than others?
Oh boy, like Patty Greer, the crop circles have been of the ultimate importance to me personally, because I do really think that these are events that are current, contemporary, temporary moments of intergalactic, interdimensional communication. So every time I go into them, I am deeply, powerfully moved. And they have that forward feeling, imminent contact sense that we're right on the pulse here, and it is the now moment of our lives. On the other hand, when I go to Egypt, one of my favorite places, and sit inside the pyramid, I bring people in the pyramid, I get private time, and we sit inside the pyramid, and most of us feel like we're about to take off. The whole pyramid's about to take off because we work with chanting and sound to bring the entire pyramid into like a resonating machine. It's just too much. And another thing that's happening is that some of these ancient sites are beginning to really demonstrate the fact that they are multidimensional vortices, more than when I started doing this work. Many people go perennially going there and doing every kind of spiritual work, and these ancient sites are coming back to their power. It's really remarkable. I can feel such a difference between when I started back 20 years ago and now, every time I go on another journey.
Do you
let me just interject here. Excuse me, Lance. You asked me what my favorite place.
Oh, yes.
I really have to stay with the Great Pyramid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just listening to an interview with at Conscious Media Network with Regina and William Henry, and he was just amazing about. He takes people to the pyramids as well, and it was quite an enlightening dialogue about how he's interpreting all these various symbols, and it seems that this information is starting to break out of the box now.
Yes.
Now, some people say that the pyramids are a living form of multidimensional whatever, that they're going to actually form a function in the near future, and that there will be things discovered in the Sphinx and so on and so forth. What's your sense about all of that stuff?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because my new book is just out. It's called wrong title, Where Pharaohs Dwell, and it goes into a lot of information about the true nature of the Sphinx, the pyramid, and the temple Sirian in Abydos. Adhering to the idea that these places are really 50,000 years old, not 10 or 12 or 8 or whatever the historians want to place on them, and that they are absolutely resonant with Earth frequencies. My book talks about where they're placed on the Earth magnetic grid lines and what that means. And I really believe that they were part of activating the Earth's energies and linking these energies to Sirius and other stars that were involved at that time on the planet, and that they are reactivating again. Despite the illusion, because they're building fences around them and gates and walls and cameras, but nonetheless, the energy is so different than the first times I went in.
Wow. I just saw some information that was hosted by Richard Hoagland, and of course he has written about the the matching pyramids and faces on Mars. Mars. And then I have another guest, Andrew Bajago, who was part of an experiment that was funded by the Vatican and DARPA and indirectly the CIA, one of those little alphabet soup agencies that starts with C. And they actually, in the 60s and 70s, were experimenting with time travel, and they actually went to the base on Mars, which is underneath. And then they came out one of these heads, one of the eyes of a head, and walked on the surface of Mars, and that was a fascinating show.
I would imagine.
And as is this one. Now, are these all connected to the other planets, and are there dwellers within that? Obviously, we know, you and I know, that there are bases on the Moon and Mars, and perhaps on the other planets, and interdimensionally as well. Would you like to talk about that at all, or? And the connection that they have.
I would like to say that in Cosmos of the Soul, the first channel book from the Sirians, they say there is water on Mars, there is water on the Moon, they have the technology, and there are bases there. So get that information now. And they also describe life below the surface on Mars, and that is a very interesting colony of some Annunaki types that have, when Annunaki spun out of orbit, some of them went to Mars, some of them landed and came over to the Earth. And we know who they are. 2,000 of them, the council say that we've got 2,000 of these beings running the show on this planet. But I don't know if you're aware of the fact that recently someone, I can't remember his name right now, it might even be Baziago, found a photo of the NASA crew images
yes.
of, and is that Baziago?
Yes, it is.
Did you see the picture of the woman walking on the rocks?
Yes.
Wow.
Quite startling.
I saw this photo. So this is Baziago, and boy, I'd love it if you'd let me get in touch with him, because I'm trying to find him. Images that he showed of the surface of Mars, and this one that indeed looks like a feminine form, a blue body. Of course, that's irrelevant, because with all the playing they're doing with lenses on Mars, trying to make it look red.
Right.
Colors are important, but there does seem to be a hominid-looking form walking on the surface of Mars. So I think we are very soon to discover that there is definitely life on Mars. You've seen the tunnels. Have you seen they call them the worms?
No, I haven't.
All right. There have been pictures also that look like worm-like structures in the rocks, and when you really look closely at them, they look like subway stations that are covered in plasticine molds.
Oh, yes, I remember that now.
The council say that there's a vivid civilization under the ground in Mars, and that shouldn't really surprise us that much, because when we talk about underground civilizations, people get all, oh yeah, right, about that, but and even if we don't acknowledge Agartha, which I do believe in here on Earth, mm-hmm. Our own military has got civilizations underground. We've got Montreal, for example, has I don't know how many miles of restaurants, metros, cities, hotels, swimming pools, condos, and whatever underground. Why is it so hard for people to get?
Well, yes, and you and I know, and most of the listeners probably have heard, too, that the military has been building bases like there's no tomorrow. All of those black operations funded by, various, illegal operations get funneled into all these underground cities, and they're all connected supposedly by maglev trains, and you can get from one end of the planet to the other in just, a matter of lickety-split. So,
talk about having privileges that we don't have, we surface dwellers, eh?
Well, we've lived in the Dark Ages for 60 years, and we just accept what's handed down to us, and they throw us a little toy now and again just to get us further enslaved and to milk more money